Hey kids, today we continue our series, Never Forget. We're learning some very important things that God wants us to never forget. God is with me in the storm. Today we're learning that we will all go through storms, and not just rainstorms with thunder and lightning, but the storms of life. We all face problems in our lives that seem to hit us like a huge storm. The storms of life can be rough. Even as followers of Jesus, we can face some difficult situations like bullies, sickness, loneliness, trouble in school or at home, and all kinds of stuff. It's a good thing Jesus is with us in the storms of life because there's no way we could handle it on our own. Today, you're going to find out more about that in your lesson. But before we get too far into that, we need to find out what's up.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Aha, yeah! What's up, everybody? It's me, the SKI to the double TLES, Skittles in the hizzy, and I'm ready to tell you what's up. Today, we are talking about peace. So every time somebody asks you what's up, you tell them. God gives me peace in every storm. Sometimes this life is full of storms. We could be going along having a great day, and all of a sudden, a big old storm rolls in. Oh man, I just did my hair. Oh man, I don't mean storms with rain, thunder, and lightning. No, I'm talking about spiritual storms. I'm talking about emotional storms. The bad things in life that just happen to us. But no matter what happens, we can always count on God to give us peace. I got peace, man. When Jesus is in your boat, you can have peace in the storm. So anytime somebody asks you, what's up, you tell them. God gives me peace in every storm. And that right there is what's up. I got a rainbow flavor, and I'm living for my Savior. Skittles out, baby. Yeah.
Today, we are going to look at a really cool story in the Bible. We've seen this story before, but with God's Word, there's always something new and different to learn. It is found in Matthew chapter 8, verse 22 to 25. At this particular time, Jesus is doing what he loved to do, teach people. It had been a long day, and Jesus really wanted to get away from the crowds. So he asked the disciples to push the boat out to sea and go to the other side so he could spend some time alone. So the disciples did as Jesus asked. They set out onto the Sea of Galilee. Everything seemed fine for quite a while, but suddenly, out of nowhere, a giant storm comes up to the boat. The disciples started freaking out. The wind and waves were tossing and turning the boat. Water was coming over the sides of the boat. The disciples were so afraid as they tried to keep the boat afloat during the storm. The whole time, however, Jesus was sound asleep in the boat. He wasn't even worried. The disciples went to Jesus and tried to wake him up. They said, "Master, Master, we're going to drown." They were afraid that the water was going to overtake the boat and cause the boat to sink. They really didn't want to die just yet. Jesus looked at the storm, looked at the disciples, and asked them a big question. "Why are you afraid?" I am sure the disciples were thinking in their minds, "What do you mean, why are we afraid? Do you not see the storm?" Jesus definitely saw the storm, but he wasn't afraid. Jesus walked up to the front of the boat, lifted his arms to the angry sea, and said, "Peace, be still." Suddenly the wind stopped, the rain stopped, The waves stopped. It was no longer a stormy sea. Instead, it was a calm, peaceful sea. The storm had stopped. Jesus turned to the disciples and asked, "Where is your faith?" Jesus was teaching them that they didn't need to run around freaking out in the storm. They had forgotten that the very person who has the power over the wind and the waves was right there in the boat with them. Instead of focusing on the storm, they should have focused on the one who can calm the storm. In your lesson today, you are going to learn the same thing the disciples learned that day. Listen closely and learn what you need to do when you are afraid.
Hi there, I'm Trivia Tracy, and I'll have you know I never forget anything. In fact, I have entered into an intense trivia contest every week since the 4th grade, and I have never lost a trivia contest ever. My friends call me a know-it-all, but they don't know. And I tell you what, to prove how great I am at trivia, how about I try to stump you right now? Here's a question from last week's trivia contest I won. Do you know how many blades of grass are in my grandpa's field out at the farm? Give up? You wouldn't know that, but it's 14,217.2. That was before the lawnmower was left on auto and drove itself around the yard last summer. And you know what? Well, you probably don't, but I sure do. Here's something else I'll never forget. Today's power verse. It says, "And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid." John 14:27b. That is one unforgettable power verse. Of course, I wouldn't forget it anyways. Now, I need all the boys to stand up and say it with me. Trivia Tracy on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. "And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid." John 14:27b. Great job. You can have a seat. Now I need all the girls to stand up and say the power verse with me on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. "And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid." John 14:27b. That power verse is so true. It doesn't take a 216-time trivia contest champion to know that. It's so important that you never forget that God is with you in the storm. Sometimes the storms of life can be scary, but Jesus isn't scared. He can calm the storm and take care of you. Now I need everyone to stand with me and say the power verse one more time on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. "And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid." John 14:27b. Good job. You can have a seat. Now I've got to get back to studying for the next trivia contest. I have a stack of encyclopedias and dictionaries to read by next Tuesday. I'm Trivia Tracy, and I'll see you later, boys and girls.
Have you ever been in a really bad storm? There's rain, wind, dark clouds, thunder, and lightning. It can be pretty scary. There are times in our lives when it feels like we are in a storm as well. There may not be any rain or thunder, but it feels like problems and difficulties are raining down on us. You might have thought when you first became a Christian that problems and difficulties wouldn't come like this, that your life would be free of storms, but chances are you've probably already found out. Storms come even when you're following Jesus. It's a fact of life. Problems are going to come. Jesus told us, in this world you will have trouble. It's going to happen. Trouble at school, trouble at home, trouble in your friendships, trouble in your neighborhood. We all have things that will go wrong. Sick family members, bullies, bad grades, people talking bad about us, friends that turn their back on us, and all kinds of things. Problems happen. storms of life happen. Too many people have the idea that if you choose to follow Jesus, everything is going to be picture perfect with no problems whatsoever. But that's not the way life is at all. Storms come in life, even when you're following Jesus. The disciples in our Bible story didn't do anything wrong in order to face that storm on the boat. As a matter of fact, Jesus is the one who told them to get into the boat and go to the other side. They didn't do anything to deserve that storm, but it happened anyway. Storms and problems in life will come even though you are a follower of Jesus. Being a Christian doesn't mean everything will be perfect with no problems. It just means when you face the storms, you are not alone. Storms don't scare Jesus. I want to know, what kinds of things scare you? What causes you to get really scared and freak out? What makes you nervous and timid and afraid? Lots of things can cause us to be scared. As humans, we can tend to get scared a lot. In our Bible story, the disciples were terrified because they knew the storm was bigger and stronger than they were. But Jesus was peaceful and sleeping even while the storm was raging. He knew his power was stronger than the storm. When you face problems and storms in your life, you can remember Jesus' power is stronger than any problem you can ever face. Stronger than temptation, stronger than depression, stronger than sickness, stronger than absolutely anything. You might be scared, but Jesus is not scared, not even a little. You can trust in him with all your heart. He is always with you and will always take care of you. In fact, when storms come, remember, Jesus is in your boat. You are never alone, even in a storm. Jesus promised he would never leave you or forsake you. That means he will be with you no matter what. So when you're facing a storm in life, don't be afraid. Just remember, Jesus is in your boat and Jesus can calm any storm. It doesn't matter what kind of storm you're facing. Divorce, cancer, bad grades, no friends, depression, sinful habits, anything. Jesus has the power to calm any storm. He did it for the disciples and he will do it for you too. All you have to do is trust him and pray that he will help you. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a wonderful week.
Hi guys, this is Miss Marissa here. I wanted to share with you guys a really easy way to teach your kids how to pray. As you know, we're going through a global pandemic right now, so things are very different. Many churches are doing online services. So I thought this would be a really easy way for parents to be able to teach their kids how to pray during this time. It's called the SMART prayer. S-M-A-R-T. The S stands for pray for the sick, and that would be all the people that have been affected by the COVID-19 virus. So we want to remember to lift them up in prayer that God would heal them. The M stands for pray for our missionaries. As a church, we support many missionaries, and other churches support missionaries as well. And since we're not able to meet in person, that may be affecting them financially. So we want to remember to lift them up, that God would provide for them during this time. The A stands for pray for all of your family. Since we're not able to visit like we used to, they may be home, maybe feeling sad or lonely, missing you guys. So we want to remember to lift up your family in prayer and that God would bring them comfort and peace. The R stands for pray for all the responders, and that would be the doctors and the nurses that are on the front lines right now. So we want to remember to lift them up as well, that God would protect them. The last one is T, and the T stands for tell the world about Jesus. So Since we're not able to see our friends and family in person, in any way that you can, we just want to remember to share the hope that we have in Jesus. And that's it. That's the SMART prayer. So I hope this was helpful for you guys.